Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So today I'm joined by one of my newest good friends here. This is DigiWatchTCG. You can check out his page. I've got it here pulled up on the screen for you. What kind of stuff do you focus in on your channel mostly?
So mostly I focus on Market Watch, a couple of deck profiles that I usually bring to locals or regional events. Basically focused more on the Market Watch. I want to make sure that you have the best information for good investments going down the line.
Cool. So you follow like the trends and things like that to like give the best input out there if possible. So yeah, so we're gonna actually be jumping in here and taking a look at each of our top 5 cards of BT8. So just kind of again following the trends, seeing what's going to be popular down the road, and just trying to give our best input on what we think maybe not the most valuable. This isn't gonna be Market Watch, just pure powerful card and what we think it'll have like one of the best impacts into the meta scene. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and kick this off. We had one card that we both picked, and out of our top 5 each, I was kind of surprised that we only had one card that actually overlapped. But I figured we'll go ahead and at least get that one out of the way first here, and that was with Innocence Blizzards here. So coming out of the BT7 format, like this card just feeling like thinking in the BT7 format just feels like it would have been absolutely busted if it had been released this format, right?
Yeah, I absolutely would have loved to play this with blue hybrids, especially if you're playing the Azulong build, or even just like throwing in a Hexablau into your boss monster if you were going to play like the Mega lineup. And you know, this card, it's kind of crazy for the fact that you are able to trash one card from everything, one Digivolution card from all the Digimon on field. That just feels so overpowered, especially if it was in this current format. And then the ability like to just stun uh, up to 3 of their cards for a turn.
Yeah, that's so good. I mean, a Zulongmon alone like already trashes all their security or all their inheritables like across the board. One of like if you had played this first and then go into a Zulongmon, like that's a double like source clear of the whole field. I mean, that almost makes up for the value of the Azulong, right? Like to get all that memory back off the Azulong ability afterwards, it's like almost makes this 3 play cost almost nothing.
Yeah, and especially with a lot of the deck lists, especially ones that you list up to like, you know, having 4 or 5 different sources. When you're able to use like a Tommy on your turn and just like kind of rip some of the sources out under one of their guys, or Soro Joe, you know, take 2 out. Sometimes they are still left with 1 or 2, but the fact that like this could be your security and basically stop the rest of their turn, or like at least kind of make it not as impactful.
Right, right. And then like taking it forward out of the BT7 format and actually applying it to the BT8 format that it comes out in, we're looking at possibly blue hybrid falling off a little bit. It fell off in the JP meta. It is still an extremely powerful fast deck. Now it is facing other decks that are super fast, like, armors, as well as, like Pyldramon and things like that. But I think that this is the card that keeps blue hybrid specifically. Yes, it's a blue card that can be played in those other decks, but I think keeping blue hybrids itself relevant in BT8, like this is probably the card that's like keeping it there, I think, just because it works so great in that deck, and just like applying it to this format, right, with the armors, being able to strip all the VMons off of the armors on the field, so that way they can't armor release anymore. That takes out that whole mechanic for them. And then something like a Pyldramon deck that's going to possibly play out its sources and then go into like another Pyldramon. You're gonna, as long as you take off a couple sources, one source on each of them, you could like stun that deck out pretty well. Even looking at like a Mastemon deck, if you take out that inheritable that lets them Jogress after they pass turn, like taking out that specific inheritable is huge. And then potentially even like just stunning them. Yeah, Jogress is going to overwrite the stun, but if they lose the inheritable that lets them Jogress in, to begin with, then I think you're in a really good spot. So this card, I think, is going to be very, very powerful.
The next one I have on my list, and I think this is a fair point, is the Davis and Ken Tamer. So with the Davis and Ken Tamer, I believe the card reads at the start of your turn, if you have a blue Digimon in play, and gain 1 memory. If you have a green in play, you gain 1 memory. So overall, you can gain 2 at the start of your main phase. Keep in mind, this is not the start of your turn. This is the start of your main phase. So that's a pretty important point to uh, to just bring out there, is that you are gaining at the beginning of main phase,
Right.
not
So
the start of your
that's
turn.
after your raising phase. So, if you're hatching, it's not going to be a big deal. But if you're promoting up out of raising, they could be huge. Especially if it's like a Ragermon that's blue and green, then you're going to gain both. Yeah, very powerful.
Right. Additionally, the other ability here is not specific to just blue and green. Is that when it's your turn, you can digivolve into a Digimon that sorry, when your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon that has 2 or more colors, you can suspend this Tamer to unsuspend that Digimon. Now, that's going to be a very important role to play with decks like Armor Purge or Armor Rush decks, where you are constantly going into this Digimon after Flame Dramon, then you're going into Magnumon and everything like that, and just being able to unsuspend and have an active blocker on the field at pretty much toward the end of your turn. That is, I think, very huge, and the fact that it's not that specific part of the effect is not specific to blue and green. You can use that with any 2 colors.
Oh, that is true. So yeah, any kind of like you could splash these guys into multiple different armor decks. So whether it be like a green focused or I think a red focus would be a little bit of a stretch a little bit, but I mean you could get some value. I mean like Flame Dramon's there, but I mean what other armors is there that you have to that you could proc there? The
Well,
Halseymon, right?
what I was thinking is you can also play like the yellow blue, where you're playing the submarine mon, and basically first off that is blue, so you are getting a little bit of memory gain from having just a blue in there. But you could also play in stuff like yellow green as well. Builds you could play it in that specifically uses like stuff like Rapidmon and other cards like that. Just basically being able to be utilized.
Right. And it's not, and it's like you said, though, it's not actually just armors. It's just anything that's dual colors. Like we focus on the armor aspect of it a lot and how it's applicable there, but it can be applied to lots of other things. A big thing that we'll see, of course, is like the Pyldramon deck and like with Imperial, that sort of thing. That's another good use of it. I think we focus a lot in on armors, but there's just all these other duo colors that are just in the game that, you'll get that really good value off of it. All right, so my next card that I've got on the list here is going to be Crimson Blaze. So 6 play cost, reduce the cost of this card in your hand by 1 for each Digimon your opponent has. Then main delete all of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less. Then your opponent can't play Digimon by effects until the end of your opponent's next turn. Now, in JP format, that last bit was very, very important because of decks like Jesmon being able to attack twice. They would play out 2 of their level 4 sister mons and then Jogress them together into like a Chimera, and that Chimera would get to attack then. That was a pretty predominant thing there. So being able to stop the playing of free Digimon, that's also pretty good. But also, it's good against something like a Mastemon deck where they get to play that free Digimon out of security. Stopping that I think is going to be really relevant. But like that's just a tacked on effect. I still think the massive board wipe of delete all your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less is going to be so relevant. If you see like a lot of these Armor Rush decks, or even in like the Pyldramon decks, where they'll play out these Vmons, these Searcher Vmons, or if they go into Imperial to pass turn, they get to play out those 2 level 4s that are just kind of chilling there. Like a Crimson Blaze right then will just absolutely devastate them, I think. And then, reduce by 1 for each Digimon. I mean, that's an easy 3 play cost, like almost semi board wipe. But that's almost unheard of. I think that's just crazy, crazy powerful for sure. And then, of course, it's going to activate Insecurity. And so, if anyone's going to be trying out any of these like red based security control, like I know we're going to see a lot of like yellow purple, like the yellow hybrid with the purple base. Still going to be floating around. But if anyone wants to switch off the purple and go red, I think this could be a really cool card that we could see a lot more of for sure.
I was actually going to mention about the Mastemon that it does kind of block Mastemon a little bit. It does block a Fonimon a little bit. All right, so for my next one, kind of going along with the board wipe mentality is the Dark Gaia Force. So this one, I think it. Well, first off, I think you've mentioned some of your previous videos, but this definitely power creeps the original Gaia Force. The ability, uh, just for the ability to clear up cards that have a play cost of 15 or less, I think is going to be very prevalent and very strong in this coming format. Not only can you board wipe in the same way, uh, multiple of your opponent's Digimon if they're going wide, but you can also get rid of something that usually is very hard to get out of. You can get rid of a um, what's one? Omnimon. You can get rid of Omnimon. You can get rid of Susanamon if people are still going to be playing a hybrid secure kind of play, because those are both 15 play costs. Yeah, you have to play a black and a red for this to be activated, but I think that having the utility in order to delete like either a wide board or one specifically is just so strong in this upcoming format.
That duo color stipulation is a bit of a pain, but I feel like the decks that you're going to want to run this in, like this should be like a fine thing. Like your red moving forward right now, very popular is going to be like Black or Greymon. I don't think there's like any other super big like pure red decks that we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see a whole lot more of these duo color things. And then black, I know the black base for Black or Greymon is pretty popular, but you're still running like what's it, Marcus, the red Marcus Tamer. So even if you have like another one of your Evos out there that's just black, you're gonna have the Marcus also that's a red. So you're gonna be covered, I think, multiple different ways. And someone did bring up in my in one of the comments where I was talking about this card, and they mentioned like down the road we are going to get some 20 cost Digimon that are going to be in play. Like I think Dexmon is 20 cost, and then the Reaper that is in Mother D Reaper decks. That's also 20 cost. So there are a few. I mean, and by few, I mean there's literally like 2 Digimon in the game. Down the road, not yet, but we're just looking at BT8 right now. And as of now, this card is great because it power checks the whole format. So as of now, I think it still power creeps regular Gaia Force in that aspect. But down the road, there are a few times where it will not. So just kind of gotta, I guess, adapt and overcome in situations, but I still think the utility of just being able to delete almost an entire board. All right, so next up on my list, I've got, this is the new level 6 for black here, Orumon or Arurumon. So the main part of this effect, or the main part of the Digimon, is kind of a little bit less relevant. I will talk about it though, but when Digivolving, you may place one Digimon card with X antibody and its type from your hand under this Digimon as a source, right? Then if you do delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 7 or less, that's pretty cool. And then your turn, once per turn, when you place a Digimon card from under one of your Digimon, wow, that's text is so tiny. As a Digivolution card, this Digimon gains plus 2000 DP and can't be deleted by your opponent's effects until the end of your opponent's next turn. We keep talking about like being able to dodge security control, but you know what? Security control is going to adapt also in this format. So I feel like dodging deletion effects is no longer that relevant moving forward. They have that new yellow-purple option card that puts it in security and then just trashes from security, which dodges this effect. Wyvern's Breath, just reducing DP, dodges this. So I feel like that last little bit isn't as important. The deleting a Digimon of 7 play costs or left is pretty cool. But I think the biggest value in this card is definitely the inheritable of end of attack once per turn. If the Digimon has Alphamon in its name, unsuspend it. Just looking at Savior, right? Savior was so powerful in Jesmon that it got limited to 1. Just being able to let a Digimon unsuspend and swing a second time in a turn, like that is so powerful. Especially when you get to trigger all these X antibody effects, such as putting sources underneath, which gains you memory, draws you cards, cards, all kinds of things like that. I think, being able to trigger these multiple times. Alphamon himself, swinging twice, if you don't trigger his ability to DP gain, that's just 4 free memory because of this guy. This thing just feels so good to me as just the inheritable portion of it. Now, it is very restrictive to only Alphamon, but I think that's still fine, honestly.
I think that this is definitely a very good pick in terms of what X Antibody needs to be a bit more competitive in BT8 and going forward, regardless of what kind of deck you're looking to build.
Also, something that literally just popped in my head, but in BT9, right, where this idea of building up into a mega, if your mega ever gets deleted, it feels so bad because you put all those resources into getting that guy on field. So a lot of times we kind of look at it as, okay, I'm going to get into my mega and I've got basically 1 turn with it, right? Where I need to attack. Like Jessamon, you got to be able to attack that same turn that you promote it and get it onto field to start getting your value. Because if not, you definitely run the risk of your opponent deleting it. So I think one of the best things about like BT9 Alphamon, and as well as we'll probably see it in BT8 also, is that double attack, just being able to clear a ton of security, gain memory, because you only get 1 turn with this, and you got to make that turn count, whether that's clearing all your opponent's security and swinging in with like a level 4 for game, or going a Grumblemon hybrid on top of like a Coda to swing for game, whatever that may be. I think it's like I need to do a ton of work in a single turn, and this definitely I think helps you get there.
The one I actually have for my next pick is Yuji Musha. And I think that this is probably one of the best and strongest cards to come out of this set for X Antibody. The reason I say that is it literally does everything for you. When you Digivolve, or when you're a Digimon with X Antibody moves from breeding to the battle area, which with its play style, and if you know how to play it right, this is how you do it. You are supposed to do it this way. Build up until you're like at your 5 or your 6 possibly, and then move up into your breeding. When you do that, you gain 1 memory, you draw 1. That's just for doing that, just for raising, is really, really good. Especially for X Antibody that needs as much memory as it possibly can to kind of finish off the game in 1 to attacks. For the other effect, that when your Black Digimon attacks, you can suspend the Tamer to add a X Antibody card. You can now basically trigger all the inherited on an attack, and also if there were other effects, like let's say you go to Dorogoromon, you can put 2 X Antibody, 1 from Dorogoromon and 1 from Yuji, to delete something that's probably like a play cost of 5 or 6. I think that's just very, very strong. I think that it's going to be very prevalent, and it is used, as far as what I've seen, in like upcoming metas. So like in BT8, it's super strong, but it continues to be very, very prevalent in BT9 as well. So your investment is looking really good with this card. Furthermore, just to like kind of bring the point home, Yuji is a Black Tamer, which, kind of going along with what you said before, you can go into Grumblemon.
Man, gain 1 memory. So say you got a memory fixer and Coda on field, and then this that puts you up to 4. That's a big turn that you're going to be able to pop off. If you go into your mega, it'll still be on your side. You can definitely make more plays on top of that. If you go into something like an Alphamon that swings, unsuspends, gains 2 memory, puts you up to 3 memory. I mean, being at 3 memory a second time to like do more things, definitely relevant. And with Dorogoromon, I was just thinking about that. Like, so you've got your baby, you've got your rookie, your champion, your ultimate underneath. And if your ultimate was Dorogoromon, then you also got another source in that, so that puts you at 5. You attack, you use the Yuji ability to put a 6, and then use the Dorogoromon, that puts you at 7. 7 inheritables under that, just from like basic plays. No fancy like the option card that lets you put a source underneath or anything like that. Like just playing the game normally, like that puts you at 7 sources to pop something like on your very first swing. That feels very, very strong for sure. All right, so my next card is going to be Fire Rocket. So 1 play cost red card. While you have a Digimon with armor and its trait in play, you can use, or you may use this card without meeting its color requirements. I think a lot of people like overlook this in a lot of different stuff. I had someone calling me out on win rate the other day saying I couldn't play it because I didn't have any whites, but it's like there are these cards that overwrite rules like that. So I think that's very important for armor specifically, because it's like so many different colors in an armor deck. But the real thing is, main one of your Digimon with 2 or more colors gains security attack +1 for the turn. Now, this is just anything with 2 or more colors gains this, so you can use this in a red deck that has multicolored Digimon in it. It doesn't have to specifically be an armor deck. Just the more practical, easy use, I think, is going to be in the Vmon armor deck. And I think this card is perfect for armors because you play this, you get that security attack +1, you swing with your Digimon. Say it gets deleted on that first check, and normally you would lose a ton of value. Just thinking about the hybrid card, Atomic Inferno, that does the same thing this does. But if you die on that first check, you never get that second security check. But with Fire Rocket, you do. So you get the armor releases, and then the Vmon attack still goes through to guarantee you get that second check. That is so strong for a 1 play cost card. This is just absolutely super nutty. Now, the security effect isn't as nice as in Atomic Inferno. Atomic Inferno, that security effect is absolutely busted. All your Digimon gain security attack +1 till the end of your turn. Like, that's very good. But this is just delete one of your opponent's Digimon with blocker. Now, what I do like about that, specifically for this format, is the fact that a lot of these Alphamon inheritables focus in on having that blocker aspect. That level 4 giving your X antibodies blocker, Genryumon. Like, anytime they put this Genryumon underneath and you're playing armors and Fire Rocket gets hit in security, you just get to blow up their Mega or their level 5, whatever it is. Like, I think that is a very, untalked about mechanic or interaction that this card has. The security attack +1 is definitely incredible. And moving ahead into the EX2 format, I've seen this card get even more use because of, I think it's the Gatekeeper card that gives all your opponent's Digimon -1 security attack. And so literally for most decks to get over that card is very, very difficult. But for armors running Fire Rocket, they can still get around that card in general. So I think that's really cool of an interaction. And you can stack him up so you can do multiple Fire Rockets, a 1 play cost, not a big deal at all. Memory Fixer for 2 Evo into your armor, and then another 1 memory to go into a Fire Rocket. Seems pretty solid of a card to me.
I will say honorable mentions are going to be Kari Kamiya, and honestly, I know it's I have to say 3 of them because I feel like they are all super good. It's going to definitely be Kari Kamiya, Blackrock Greymon, and Chimeramon. My top card is for this set, or at least in my top 5 card, is the Ophanimon Fall Down mode. Digivolving into her, 1, deletes a Digimon that's a 4 or lower. 2, recovers 1. And then if it by chance does get deleted, you can play a level 4 Digimon from your trash, which is either purple or yellow, without the memory cost. You know who this reminds me of? Mastamon. Not the new one, but the older one with the play from your trash, a level 4 yellow or purple. I think that is... You have Lucemon as a possible way of recovering. I think you're going to see a lot of this in recovery style decks. I just think that overall this is quite an amazing card.
I love the versatility of it. So also that 4 Evo cost. You already kind of mentioned it earlier, but you combine this with a Kari, so you recover 1, suspend the Kari, and gain that 1 memory back. So if you have a memory, which you have a memory fixer on field in the form of Kari, you go into this and you can keep it on your turn still, so you can still do stuff after that. That's great. We have all these duo colors, all these purple yellow duo colors, mainly in support for the Mastamon deck, but at the same time they really support Ophanimon also, and just being able to trigger off both of her effects at once, the purple requirement for the delete or the yellow requirement for the recovery. We see the recovery mostly used because of the yellow hybrid that it gets teched into a lot of times, but this is a secondary mega in I think a lot of these Mass Daemon decks that we're going to see. So like honorable mention wise, I did have initially, I had Ken and Davis in there because I just love that being able to attack multiple times. Yeah, the gaining memory is cool, but yeah, being able to digivolve and unsuspend, and so you could essentially like have a like tremendous turn of being able to swing multiple times. I had Chimeramon. I think the genericness of being able to just throw Chimeramon into like any deck, it is a great just kind of generic removal, right? Then up to 4 of your opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 DP for each color this Digimon has until the end of your opponent's next turn. You know, like you said, you've got the white already, and then whatever color deck you're playing it in. So if you, especially if it's a duo color deck, you know, that's minus 3k, potentially minus 4. Like in armors, I think this is really, really brilliant in armors because, you know, you've got red, blue, green, yellow, and then he makes white. So that's minus 5,000 in an armor, potentially. So I just like the genericness of him, for sure. But my final card, and I think this card is potentially like one of the best cards in this whole format, or in this whole set, is going to be Rapidmon. And for a couple different reasons, I think this card is not going to get played around properly, and not being seen coming. So we've seen this a lot in security control that goes back to playing a yellow base, and so they'll have something like a Patamon that they're going to evo this on top of, or so they've got a Salamon that's been sitting in raising area. You know, their security's never been down to 3 or lower, so the Salamon's just been sitting in the raising area for, you know, 2 or 3 turns, just kind of biding its time. You never know when they're just going to randomly promote that up and just slam down a Rapidmon. So it has armor release, but the when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon for each of your Tamers in play, which in a yellow hybrid deck, you know, you're going to have a ton of those, 3, 4, easy, not even looking at the Shine variants that run even more Tamers. But, you know, then as long as you have 3, you're going to get your instant value. Then up to 3 of your opponent's suspended Digimon get minus 5,000 DP for the turn. Now, against armors, this is also really relevant because of their the way the armor release works is if they get deleted, you know, you armor release, but that 5,000 DP sticks. So the top one will get deleted, and then the Vmon will also get deleted because he still has that minus 5,000 DP. So it's a great counter to armor rush, which we know will be super popular. A lot of the cards that we're seeing this format are very low DP for the most part, at least all the support cards. And this is just like one thing you can do, right? You can still stack this with other effects that minus DP. I've seen a lot of games where people just don't plan ahead for Rapidmon, and just you never know when it could do something that just like comes out of nowhere and deletes like a big chunk of your board, getting three of your different Digimon deleted at one time. Especially, you know, if you're thinking you're building up and going to be going for game here soon, like in a hybrid deck, like blue hybrid, that's going to have maybe like a Kumamon on field and like a Strabi, some memory blockers, memory reduction blockers, you know, all these different targets on field, and then boom, just Rapidmon shows up to the fight and then deletes half your board, you know, the turn before you think you're about to win. Yeah, just feels really good. And then normally Digivolve on top of Terriermon, you don't see that too much right now. Maybe next after EX2, when we get all that Terriermon support, you'll see more Rapidmon. But the 4 Evo on top of yellow, you know, you combine that with a Patamon that gains you 1 memory when a Digimon is deleted by DP reduction. Essentially, he's just a 3 Evo cost, level 4, and if a memory fix on field, you can go into this Rapidmon and keep it on your turn. You know, you can still attack if you want to combine it with other effects such as like the the TK Kari, that when you suspend it, you know, you minus another 2k on something, so then that minus 5k turns into a minus 7k. Yeah, I think the utility and usefulness of this Rapidmon is just like the ceiling of skill level. Like it's got a low floor, like anyone can use it pretty effectively, but the ceiling is also super high on it to be able to get some crazy good use out of this Rapidmon. All right, well, thanks for being on the channel. I know this turned into a relatively long video, but I think the information we put out was pretty solid, and being able to bounce off ideas and, you know, pick up where the other person might have left off, I think definitely will benefit the watchers a whole lot. So thank you. Definitely check out their channel. There it is again on the screen for you. DigiWatchTCG. Still coming up, but definitely got some good information there for sure.
Definitely, and thank you for featuring me on your channel. I appreciate it.